Hello, this is Avi, the founder of the Bike Streets Project, and I'm excited to walk you through the 2019 Bike Streets plan to make Denver America's best bike city. To kick things off, our objective for this year is to get to 100,000 daily riders. Now, I'm generally not in favor of setting goals that are overly ambitious, but I also like the way in which a big, audacious goal helps you organize your thinking. In this case, the way we think about it is, what would it take to get to 100,000 daily riders? It's a great question, a big, overarching, audacious, and ambitious question that helps us start to think about what are the actual components of a plan that would get us there. And I think a little bit of humility, a little introspection is the first place to start. By asking ourselves what are the current problems with bike streets and being candid and honest with ourselves about what's working and what's not, it starts to lead us in a direction of those things that we really need to work on. I think it comes down to three main categories. One, ease of use. Bike streets should be abundantly easy for any rider of any level of skill to follow the trails and routes and get around town. Awareness also needs to increase across the board. And map coverage, while comprehensive to a large degree, still can improve and can certainly be refined. Where that leads us is to a hypothesis. And the hypothesis is this: if bike streets is easier to use, awareness is greater, and map coverage improves, we can get to 100,000 daily riders in Denver in 2019. And that's the hypothesis that we intend to explore over the course of this year, and we need your help doing it. Let's dig a little bit more into the details. So, for each category, ease of use, awareness, and map coverage, there are a few specific priorities. For ease of use, it's wayfinding, a printed map, and a mobile application. Some of those things also happen to fall into the awareness category, which also includes PR and volunteers. And volunteers also fits into map coverage, where we'll also do some work on improving and fixing some of the gaps in the Bike Streets map. Let's explore each of these individually in a little bit more detail. Starting with wayfinding, again, both part of ease of use and the awareness initiatives. There are two real hypotheses here. Number one, if it's abundantly easy to follow a route when you're out riding, ridership will increase. In other words, we need to make it a lot easier when you're on your bike to find and follow bike streets. This picture here is one of the more circuitous routes. They generally tend to be a lot straighter than this, but I pulled this one out of the map just to highlight the fact that when you're out riding, it needs to be very clear when and where you need to turn. The second hypothesis, related more to awareness, is that increased visibility provided by basic wayfinding will also increase ridership. So in other words, if people see that there are bike streets markings either on the street itself or on the sides of the streets, then they'll become intrigued, they'll dig into it a little bit more, and they'll start riding. Next, we move on to the printed map, also relevant to both ease of use and awareness. The hypothesis here is that a physical map, available for free in libraries, schools, breweries, coffee shops, and the like, will introduce new people to bike streets, make the routes more tactile and self-explanatory, and get more people to try it out. We're going to run a Kickstarter to try to raise the funds necessary to both design and print, as well as distribute around town, the printed map. Next, also in the ease of use and awareness categories, is the mobile app. The hypothesis for ease of use is that a mobile app that includes things like route finding and turn-by-turn directions will make it easier to navigate, and that will increase ridership. As it relates to awareness, the idea of sharing features within a mobile app will help introduce friends and new folks to bike streets and increase ridership. In the awareness category, PR was very effective for us in 2018. We had pieces in the Denver Post, Colorado Public Radio, and 9 News. The hypothesis here is that PR will continue to raise community awareness and increase ridership. Volunteers is one of the things that I'm most excited about. So many people have asked over the last year if there are ways in which they can get engaged and involved in the Bike Streets project. And I think volunteers can play a critical role in 2019 in 2 categories: awareness and map coverage. As it relates to awareness, we're going to create a new position called volunteer captains for each neighborhood. So if you live in Park Hill or Wash Park, if you live in Bonnie Bray or Baker, you can volunteer and be a neighborhood captain. Volunteer neighborhood captains in each Denver neighborhood can increase neighborhood awareness and accordingly ridership, is our hypothesis. Our map coverage hypothesis is that volunteer captains in each neighborhood will be able to provide neighborhood level know-how, what I've often called folk knowledge about those given neighborhoods, on where the routes should actually be. So if we need to refine the map, our volunteer captains will be able to help guide us in that direction. And then last, as it relates specifically to the map coverage category, we need to improve some of the gaps. And the hypothesis here is that adding map coverage to areas that are currently underserved will improve the riding experience and increase ridership. In other words, if there are Bike Streets routes all over the city, and if the gaps that exist are filled, it will be easier for more people to get out and ride. So that's it. That's the plan. We need your help. We need you to get involved as volunteers to help us raise awareness in your communities and also to make the map better in your neighborhoods. If you'd like to volunteer, please send an email to info@bikestreets.com. Let's do this together.